That looks nice. It looks really good. Nothing out of the ordinary, modern geometry. You don't want to go out there and then be like, oh God, this is not feeling good. I just spent $6,000. Why did they do this? That is a $1,000 discount, which is 15% off original price. So onto the verdict and the final grade. Overall, out of the box shreddability. Welcome to Frankie's eMTB channel. Trek is in a bit of trouble. They're slashing prices on everything and reducing their inventory level. I'm sure many of you are here to take advantage of the attractive pricing of the Trek Rail 7 Gen 3. I'm going to take you guys through my mental process of how I approach a bike, rate them, and then ultimately decide if it's a great buy or not. I've gone through a bit of training back a few years ago in Taiwan, working on the manufacturing side, so hopefully I can give you guys a little bit of insight as to whether this e-bike is a good buy or a bad buy or on the borderline. And starting from the discounted price of $5,649, it does look promising, but I won't know until we go in depth and analyze its components. We'll work on geometry, then our way to the components, then onto my recommendation. So if you feel like skipping ahead to the important parts, use the chapter timestamps below to jump ahead. Disclaimer, this is only spec and value talk and not how this bike rides. We are here to try to spot some pros and the cons so you can make an informed decision on your e-bike purchase. So before we get into the geo and component spec, let's review the basic bike info. All right, the motor, of course, is a Bosch Performance CX motor, one of the best in the market. Battery, 625 watt hours. Pretty much standard battery these days. On the frame, it is 150 millimeter travel. And for the fork, it's 160 millimeter travel. So it is 150, 160 millimeter travel bike, which is not an enduro and not a trail bike. It's like right at that spot where it's an all mountain, do it all. It's a good amount of travel to have. You know, you can go to bike parks, you can do a lot of things with this travel chunk. Or if you're just riding, you know, green trails and blue trails, it is plenty enough travel for you. Looking at the pictures, it is a Gen 3, I think, yes. So looking at this picture, it is a Gen 3 Bosch controller, which is a bit chunky. It's not the newest one where it's integrated with like a really small blueprint for the controller, and it's a small little LED display right on the top tube. This one has the controller right there on the handlebars. I mean, God forbid anybody crashes, but if you do, that is right there. So, or if you hit branches or, you know, it's scratching that controller. It's a little bit more expensive if you damage it. Other than the new controller, the tiny one, it's a lot cheaper to replace. So you got two colors to choose from, the dark prismatic and the matte blue sage. I've seen the matte blue sage before and I have not seen the dark prismatic, but if I was to purchase this bike, I would go for the dark prismatic because, like, if you check out the color, it's like a sparkle. It has that sparkle. That looks nice. It looks really good. I mean, this bike is a really decent bike because, you know, it's won a lot of awards from you know, the big boys. Rob loved this bike. Lone Wolf gave it a great best in class winner. E-bike of the year, you know, sets the bar, E-Mountain Bike magazine. So a lot of people are loving this bike, this particular geometry. And one thing I really like about this bike, one of its features is the rib system, the removable integrated battery. When you're able to remove the battery as easy as that, it makes everything so much easier, makes everything so much convenient, especially when you're charging your battery and you're not close to a charge port, a connector, or, you know, when you're out camping and you just can't get your bike to get close to wherever you need to charge. You can just take that battery out and then charge whenever. Or if you're in like in really cold area, and then your bike cannot be stored in a warmer area, but you could take that battery out. That is a huge, huge bonus to the removable integrated battery. Going back to where the specs are, you can tell, okay, it's an alpha platinum aluminum. I'm not sure what that means, but it is an aluminum bike. It's non-carbon. Also, this should be a full 29er. So if you're looking at max tire size, frame is 29 2.6 or C manufacturer. So if you look at the front wheel and the rear wheel, it is a 29-inch. Really fast rolling bikes. I like 29ers, they're fun to ride. I'm approximately 5'8", so let's see what their sizing suggestion is. So at 5'8", a medium size would be 5'5" through 5'9". So right there, 5'8", I'm at the end of a medium size. Looking at the Geo always determines the type of ride you'll be getting with the bike. We'll see if there's anything out of the ordinary that could make this bike ride in a certain way. Like certain bikes have longer reaches, so you know you're more in a hinge attack position. Certain bikes are, the reach is a little bit shorter, so you're a little bit more upright. You want to be playful, chainstay, all different variables. But let's go through them right now. So the basics of what I look at are the reach, the chainstay, the head tube angle, and the wheelbase. Starting with the reach, so depending on the flip chip, it is 450 to 445 millimeters. 450 to 455 is like the perfect length for me. It is an upright position. I'm able to pop my bike. I'm able to get over my bike and maneuver my bike. I like that position, 450, 455. So this at 450 to 445, 445 is a little bit on the short side, but it's not like at 430, which is like a small size. The chainstay determines how playful or how planted this bike feels. And sometimes the longer the chainstay, it helps you climb that steep stuff, because the longer it is, the less likelihood that your front will pop up during a steep climb. 447 and 449, depending on where the flip chip is. It's right about where all the all mountain is. My Turbo Levo is about 451, so this one is just a tad shorter than the Turbo Levo, so could prove to be a little bit more playful, a little bit more poppy, interesting, but nothing out of the ordinary yet. Head tube angle 64.9, 64.5, depending on the flip chip. 64.9, that's close to 65, which is a little bit on the steeper side. Nothing out of the ordinary, but you know that this is designed to be more maneuverable, more playful, more poppy, especially with that shorter chainstay. Let's check out wheelbase, 1220, 1221. Right there where all the all mountain is. It's a little bit shorter than the Turbo Levo. I think Turbo Levo is like 1225 or 1230. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I should have that. I should have that spec right here, but I know it's a little bit shorter. I have my notes. So you can see where, you know, it sacrifices the wheelbase. It should prove to be a little bit more poppier, a little bit more playful than the Turbo Levo. Nothing out of the ordinary, modern geometry, and it is no wonder why all the guys like Rob and Lone Wolf and Mountain Bike Review, they all give this bike such a high rating. It just has a great geometry for you to do all types of trails out there. So from the trails, nothing out of the ordinary. Okay, so on to the price and the components, the fun part. The original price is at $6,649.99 and discounted down to $5,649.99. That is a $1,000 discount, which is 15% off original price. It's a good amount, 15%. It's not bad. It's not as good as that specialized discount, which was at 30%. We'll give that a grade at the end when we run through all the components. Looking at the fork, let's go down to the fork section. It is a RockShox Domain RC Debonair motion control damper. This is not a bad fork, okay? It is RockShox 38mm budget fork. It's like the same build as the Zeb, but it's a little bit heavier with thicker stanchions and all that. It's not a bad fork. It's not the best fork, but it's not bad. Has the motion control, which the oil and the bladder is all mixed into one. It's not separate chambers. Prolonged ride on this damper you'll start seeing the fork fade, and then you'll start feeling harshness of the fork. It's beefy, it's good. At least it's stable in that sense. But you know, honestly, with an all-mountain bike, I'm not seeing why they didn't go with the Lyric Select, something that's lighter for an all-mountain bike. But I guess the Lyric is a 35, it's not a 36, so they want a 38. So I'll give this rating a B at the discounted price of $5,006, because you can still upgrade dampers and you still have some control. You're not locked in to a specific damper, which is good because you can still upgrade the fork. The shocks is a RockShox Deluxe Select Plus. Strange they put a 38mm Enduro fork paired with a trail shock like the Deluxe Select Plus. Why did they do this? I would have went a Super Deluxe Select and give the customer an option to upgrade the canister or the reservoir. At least this is a Deluxe Select Plus, which gives you rebound and dampening control. So it's like they want you to go fast through chunky stuff in the hands, but then once you go too fast into the chunky stuff, you're gonna kind of slow down because the rear shock is not gonna be able to catch up. And that's what I'm getting from the shocks here. So it's like, yes, you'll go fast, but not too fast because the shocks will give you a limit. And then again, everyone's scale is a little bit different, and depending on what you like to ride, if you're on blue and green trails, this is plenty enough. The shocks aren't too bad for that blue and green trail. But for me, I like to ride chunky stuff. I like to ride steep, chunky, and do some jumps and drops. You know, the more you go through that type of riding, you'll start seeing your bike wear, and you'll eventually want to upgrade. I guess I would give this a C. All right, let's see. For the wheels, they have a Bontrager Line Comp 30s. Usually for the wheels, they spec or they buy from a wheel manufacturer. It is not their proprietary rim, which they designed the layout of the rim itself. I cannot be sure. They usually do just slap the label Bontrager onto lower end wheels. But if you look at the Rapid Drive 108, that means the engagement is on 108 clicks. So that is gonna sound really, really nice. So with that, I guess I would give this an A. You know, at least they have some type of technology going on into the hubs. Moving on to the drivetrain. So the drivetrain is a Shimano SLX, a shifter is a Shimano SLX, and the derailleur is a Shimano XT, which is pretty cool. I guess they understood that, okay, if we wanted to save on the rear shock, let's beef up the drivetrain. If it was me, I would have done the reverse. I would have beefed up the shocks and then went on a lower tier for the drivetrain. Certain parts of the drivetrain are wear and tear, and I'll give this an A rating. The brakes are a Shimano 4-piston hydraulic disc M61 and M6120. That is the entry-level Dior. They are not too bad for an entry-level build like this bike here. This is actually a mid build. It's not entry level. I would say I would give this a solid B because, you know, the Dior, it's not bad. It bites. It's good enough, but if they went with an SLX, I would have given them an A. Not a lot of people could tell the difference between an SLX and a Dior, so they went down. So onto the verdict and the final grade. Overall, out of the box shreddability is a B-. So what I mean by out of the box shreddability is that once you buy this bike, the things that you have to additionally purchase to make this bike feel super plush, super planted, or super shreddy, right? Taking it to your local trail where you shred the most gnar, and that you don't have to upgrade. That means you could just take it out, do drops, jumps, and all that stuff. This gets a B-, only because of that shock. That is a trail shock. I mean, again, I'm not saying you can't shred, but after a prolonged use of those shocks, you're gonna start feeling the fade of the fork and the shock, and it's not gonna feel good. I mean, you can still go out and ride this chunky stuff. Positive, you can still do it. I'm pretty sure pros can do it. I'm pretty sure anyone above, anyone at the intermediate level can go out and shred this. To have that 100%, like I can just not think about my components fading, this gets a B-. So that's shred out of the box shreddability. At the original price at $6,649 with these specs given, with all the stuff that you're seeing now, I give that a C. It's like a C-, because $6,000, $6,600 is a lot of cash for components that you're gonna replace. And looking at the discounted $5,649, I give that a B-. To really push this bike into a B+, A-, this bike would have to be at a discount of $5,000, which, hey, if you can find this bike at $5,000, I would be okay to go ahead and buy this bike. Here comes my recommendations. It would be a great buy at $5,000 because you will need to upgrade the shock first. There really isn't anything else you can do to this shock. It is a deluxe, it is a trail shock, and you're gonna end up wanting more out of the shock because this bike is a 150 millimeter, 160 travel bike, and you can actually take this to 170 millimeter up front. So it wants to have some aggressive riding. And you know, as an intermediate rider, yes, you can depend on skill, but you want comfort, right? You don't want to go out there and then be like, oh God, this is not feeling good. I just spent $6,000 and I still have to upgrade more. If you can find it at $5,000, perfect. You will need to upgrade the shocks. Shocks first, right? My suggestion would be get a DVO Topaz Gen 3. Great option, the DVO Topaz Gen 3. On their website right now, DVO has a 30% discount. You're likely to pick that up for around $300. And for the fork, I would go with the Charger 2.1 upgrade, or I am not sure if you can fit a Charger 3 with the buttercups into the domain. So if any of you have done that, please let me know down in the comments below so I can let our viewers know in the future that you can fit that Charger 3 onto the domain. But right now, with my research, I can only find that you can fit the Charger 2.1 onto the domains. That is like a $320 Charger 2.1 with a $100 installation fee. So you're looking at $400 for the damper upgrade and a $350 DVO upgrade. So that's putting you at around $700 to $800 right now. If you go onto the DVO website with the 30% off, you can get an Onyx single crown with the DVO Topaz for $1,100. So if you can find this bike at $5,000 with that additional $1,100, that puts you at $6,100. Premium Trek Rail 7. I mean, it's not even a Trek Rail 7 anymore. It's just gonna be a premium bike. You got the DVO front and rear, and then you got XT, SLX, Diore, brakes. That's a premium bike. You take that bike anywhere. You take it to Bike Park, take it to all the places you can imagine. The fork and the shock and the bike and the battery and the Bosch motor will take care of everything. There's a lot of brands out there that is at that $5,000 price range and have better components. So please go look around. But again, if you can find this at $5,000, I would probably go for it. I'm pretty sure right now these discounts will be here to stay for a little bit because the bike industry is not doing so well, which is good time for us buyers, bad time for manufacturer, but we are the consumers. We are the ones that are buying. We are the ones that are forking out $5,000, $6,000 during a tougher market. That is all I have for you today. Let me know down in the comments if this guide helped you with your purchase decision. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Use my affiliate links to purchase all the components discussed or purchase your e-bike. Let me know if you do purchase the e-bike. We'll link up and do an interview series. So with that, hope you all have a great rest of the week. As always, stay electric. Peace.